This is good, baby. We get a chance to just tell people who we are. You know what I mean? Do what we do.
Okay.
I think we probably got one of the most interesting stories. Jason and Amie Coleman story. It's pretty interesting.
It is.
And to be 20 years in, who would have ever thought we'd be here 20 years and really just starting to live life?
Yep.
That's crazy.
That is.
That's crazy, right?
Yep. That's crazy.
So
our origin story. Start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning. So my god brother Xavier, he's a boxer, he's a pro fighter. So, Zay was about to be on his first big undercard. And it was the Sugar Shane Mosley, Vernon Forrest. I think it was their second fight. And it was in a place called Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, I had never, ever, ever heard of this place. Never heard anything going on. And it was one of them places, it was just like a gym. So, me and my partner E, we get on the flight. We fly to Indianapolis. At the time I worked for the airline, so I was able to kind of move around how I wanted to. It ain't like how it is today. Like it's hell trying to catch a flight now. But back then, flights used to be wide open. Went to Indianapolis, got to the airport, and me and E was sitting there talking, and it was a young lady that came up to us. This was probably one of the prettiest ladies I've ever seen. And she came up to us and started having a conversation. And it was a straight vibe. So we just talking. It's, you know what I mean? She telling us about her family. She going back home to Indianapolis. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like I never would have thought. They say in Georgia is Southern hospitality. But to be honest with you, I feel like the Midwest got better hospitality than the South, which is crazy to me because I'm from Ohio originally, but I grew up in Atlanta. I see we mug each other to death. There, everybody smiling, they laughing, they speak. It's a good time. So we got to Indianapolis.
Let's be clear. He's talking about the women.
The women. Most definitely the women.
The women.
The women are different. Most definitely. So we get, to the airport. The lady who we was talking to, she was like, listen, here's my number. My family, and she was married. So it wasn't, and then she, like I said, so it wasn't no, I'm trying to get with you type thing. It was just like, here, I'm extending the invitation for you to hang out with my family. It's Black Expo weekend. I'm like, Black Expo weekend? What we got one of them in Atlanta. We didn't know they had one here. So at the time, we used to have one. So we catch a cab. We go down to the Westin. That's where we were staying at. Everybody was staying in the Westin.
Downtown
Indianapolis. Meet up with some of our other partners that had drove down, and we kind of just all started. We hit the scene. We hit the mall. Did what we did. Had a good time. And again, everybody's so accommodating, so friendly. This is not what we're used to, and I do again. I'm speaking to women. This ain't what we're used to in Atlanta. Everybody's a little different in Atlanta. We all think we that. So go back to the hotel, get dressed, do my thing. We go to the loosen up a little bit, baby. Do our thing. And we go watch the fight. Zay won. I think Vernon Forrest had won that night. Rest in peace, Vernon Forrest. We go back to the, so we was all supposed to meet up with our partners. So we was all supposed to meet up, and somehow we got everybody split up. So me and E stayed together. All the rest of my partners, and back then we didn't have cell phones. So we was using two-way pagers and things like that back in the day. So we, and I didn't have a two-way pager. So I had no way of being able to get in touch with these guys. So me and E ended up breaking off. We ended up going to a Sugar Shane Mosley after party. It was at the Marriott, right across from where we were staying. So we go in, we checking out the party. And, I'm sitting at the bar. Me and E sitting at the bar. And it's a lady there next to me. And we just chopping it up, talking. And she just hands me her room key. And she's like, hey, when you done here, come see me. I'm like, man, what? I said, this the type of night we about to have? This is absolutely nuts. So E he didn't catch nothing. So I'm like, you know what, bro? I'm gonna leave that alone. We going back to the hotel. We got to get up early in the morning to catch our flight back home. So we leave, walk across. Now I'm a little tipsy at this point. I had a few. Ian had a few. And we leave and we're walking up to the hotel, and I see two girls sitting down like right outside the hotel. And I felt like I immediately sobered up at that point for some reason. And I just boldly walks up to the lady to my left, and I say, what I say, baby?
I don't remember exact words, but can I talk? Can I join your conversation?
Right. I said, you mind if I sit down and have talk with you?
Yeah, that's what you said.
And she gonna say, and this is my baby. This is what I love. As long as you don't care about as long as you gonna talk about what we talking about. Like, it was so much attitude in that statement, but she was still sweet as pie. So I knew I was dealing with something different. So I sat down. She had her best, her friend right next to her, and my partner E sat next to her. So I'm talking, and it's just our conversation, chemistry, immediately just clicked. So we just started talking, and I hit her with the famous line, "You hungry? Let's go get something to eat."
Of course I'm hungry.
Man, so you was hungry, baby?
Of course I was hungry. I'm gonna get a free meal. I'm thinking, hey, y'all from Atlanta. I never thought I would see y'all again. Of course I'm gonna eat.
You gonna take me out to eat? Yeah. So we went, and we went to a place, what's it called? Perkins.
It
was a 24-hour spot. So we went
way up north.
All four of us.
Yeah.
Went, sat down. Go ahead.
All four. Well, we were walking downtown, but it was so packed.
Yeah, it was a lot going on
because they were so impressed about Black Expo.
Yeah, and it wasn't nothing like Atlanta Black Expo.
It's because Indianapolis is not we have pockets of Black people, but of course, so it's Black Expo. It's before they start killing people at the Black Expo. It was So we were able to move downtown. So we walked around. We were looking for somewhere to eat, but it was so packed. So we were like, let's leave from downtown.
Right.
And then we went to Perkins.
She had the car. So, we ain't had the taxi or nothing. She had the whip. So we jumped in the car.
Yeah.
And we went to Perkins.
And I think my friend drove and at the time. And then we went up there, and me and Jason, we laughed and talked from maybe 11:30 to like,
was it that early?
7 a.m. Yeah, it wasn't late.
Listen.
You're
right. We sat in that restaurant.
Yeah.
Literally, it had to be at least 5 hours.
5 hours. We talked, we laughed. It was instant chemistry.
But it wasn't like, oh, you friend zone laughter.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, she really funny. Like, this is crazy. Like, this girl crazy. Me and my partner, we just, it was a natural flow of conversation. Like, it was so much chemistry that it was undeniable. I knew I was coming back.
Yeah, so even that because it was like, y'all didn't get back until what? Y'all almost lost. Did y'all
so we never even slept in the hotel.
Yeah.
We literally they had to rush us back to the hotel. We had to hurry up, take a shower, pack our bags, and we left. It was and we literally probably got to the airport probably about 30 minutes before it was time for us to go. That's how bad we pushed it. But we got home, and when I walked in my door, in my room, I got a phone call. And it was from a girl that I was dealing with at that time. And when I was talking to her on the phone, and she said, hold on. She said, something different. She said, you met somebody. I said, huh? Huh? What you mean? She said you went down there and met somebody, or up there and met somebody. I said, you know what? I'm not even gonna lie to you. I said, I did. I said, I met somebody. I said, and I don't know what it is. I said, but we can be cool, but we can't see each other no more. I was dealing with a couple women. I broke up with everybody. I know people gonna say that's crazy, but I broke up with everything I had. Guaranteed action at home. This is before I ever saw her for a second time. And literally said, you know what? That's gonna be my girl. So I went, we talked, I called her. She called me that evening. Cause I've been asleep the whole day because I was exhausted. She had called me, she woke me up, and she was like, hey. And I answered, and I'm like, oh, hey. I was like, man, I was giddy, like, I wasn't supposed to be like this. Like, this ain't even my personality. But I'm giddy because I'm happy she called me. So she hit me up, we talked for hours. And I was back up there that Saturday. Wow. Was it Friday or Friday night, Saturday?
It was Saturday.
That Saturday.
Right. Okay, so that night I was begging my friend Toria to come downtown with me because it was Black Expo weekend. I didn't want to be at home. I am at the time, I got my own apartment, my own car, my own job. I'm doing me. And I'm doing me. I'm single. But I was dealing with some people, but not like he was dealing with people. I was dealing with some people, but wasn't. So I was begging my friend Tori. It was like I'm sorry. I didn't even mean to. Sorry, Tori. She didn't want to go downtown. She was done. She was like, I don't really want to go. So I went over my other friend's house, and she got dressed, begged her to go. And actually, we were downtown at they have those hotel parties at the Westin. And wasn't really feeling it. So we were just kind of sitting outside, like watching people walk by because, it was downtown, a lot of stuff going on. Really didn't want to do the club thing or anything. We were just downtown hanging out. They walked past him and his friend. And, he asked if he wanted to talk. So I'm like, as long as you want to talk about what we want to talk about, you can sit down.
I can sit down.
Yeah. So we talked, and then he, I like food. He said, "You hungry?" Sure. On you,
fellas.
Got it.
That's how you get them.
So we went, and like you said, we went to Perkins, but we laughed till my face was hurting. We had an instant connection, it was just instant, and everything from our relationship was instant, and literally. So I don't think we were together that night, but I wanted to go to a Mary J. Blige concert. It was like Sunday night. He was like, I can go home and fly back.
Yeah, I was willing to do it.
Yeah, and I'm like, nah, you ain't got to do that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. It's not a big deal. And he was like, well, I want to come back and see you. I'm coming back next Saturday. So he came back next Saturday. That following Saturday, and it was late Saturday night because you worked on Saturday.
I worked Saturday. I was off Sunday, Mondays.
Yeah.
So I worked on that Saturday. So I caught the last flight from Atlanta to Indianapolis that Saturday as soon as I got off work. Yeah.
He came back that next week, and we hung out. And now, mind you, I don't know him. I have an apartment, so he didn't have to get a hotel or anything. Picked him up from the airport. We hung out. We went to the downtown mall at the time. That was like the popping mall. And we went to the movies. We went out to eat. We just enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah.
Yeah. We enjoyed. And I already, and at this time I already had a son.
Right. Right. Drew was 2.
Yeah. Yep, he was 2.
He was 2 when I came in.
Yeah, he was 2 years old, and my aunt had him. My aunt Joyce had him, and I borrowed her. Remember, I borrowed her car. Mm-hmm. I borrowed her car because I wanted him to drive something nice. I only had a Corsica. I had a Chevrolet Corsica at the time.
It wasn't nothing wrong with Corsica.
It was nothing wrong with it.
Shout out to the Corsica.
Right, it did many things for us.
Absolutely.
So we No, but one thing I want to say, so that night when we were talking, I was like, look, I don't want to deal with a man that got a car in his own place, because I got a car in their own place. I got a car, I got a job, I have my own place. I don't want to deal. So Jason lied.
Yeah.
And said he had all of that. Didn't have none of that.
Listen, I got all that. I got a Monte Carlo. Yeah. I had no money. I was looking to buy a Monte Carlo, but I didn't have the Monte Carlo.
He's like,
I was living with my mama and daddy for free. But listen, she's right. I most definitely I exaggerated a bit.
Not exactly. Those were lies.
Well, it was.
It's
I'm
okay,
gonna
though.
call it an exaggeration
Okay, got it.
because I was literally about to buy the Monte Carlo. My uncle stopped me from buying it because he said he didn't like the floor shift. It was like a different model or something. It had a lot of recalls. Something was wrong. So he's the one that stopped me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the engine was souped up.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle was like, man, that's too much. Like, you don't need all that. So that's why I didn't end up getting the Monte Carlo. But
Okay.
I was in motion.
You was in motion. You had a job. That's the only thing
I did have a job.
And that you said.
I had a little money.
That was you did. So we literally met like you could say July 20th or 21st, whichever one, because it was like the middle, like 11:30, 12 o'clock when we met. So we literally met July 20th.
Let's just stick with the 20th.
Right. And we were married January 4th, 2003.
Yep. Got married January 4th, but it's a lot that it's a lot in that. It's a lot in between that though. Yeah. So let's get back to the to the origin story.
Yeah. So I mean that is the origin. The origin is like we met July 20th.
People want to know. They want to know the details.
We got engaged September. I don't remember the date.
I don't remember. I don't think I engaged. We didn't get engaged in September.
You gave me a ring in September.
The next month?
Yes. The end of September.
I don't know about that.
So when did you give me a ring? We got married in January.
It might have been in October.
Okay, I'll give you October.
Well, first and foremost,
it was September. I remember. He doesn't.
Her memory is horrible. So but baby, you're right. Okay. September it is. So
you can say October if you want to make yourself feel better.
It doesn't matter. We're 20 years in.
I
feel like this is the best investment that I could have ever made. First and foremost, I didn't have the money to buy the ring. I had my mama put it on her Frederick what
credit card.
That was a credit card. Mama put it on the credit card for me, and I paid it off. Okay. But I was so proud of that ring. Mm-hmm. And the crazy part is, so this is the thing. When I spoke to my mom and dad about Amie, because it came to a point where it became real. Like, this is real. Like I'm this is it. My mom, dad, and sister all flew down to meet her. That's when she knew what type of family I had. Like, my family show up for me. They show up. We show up for each other. That's what we do. Mm. But for my family, I think, was it your aunts?
No, they just came to meet me, and I just invited my aunt and Steve.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So my mom and dad didn't go to Steve and Joyce's.
That was after the fact. We met before that.
So they came down twice.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I don't even. Wow, that's crazy.
They came down twice.
But when they came down the second time was when we had the room at the Omni.
Yeah. Well, gotcha. Your parents had the room, and then they left.
Gave us the room.
They gave us the room.
They gave us the room because they left early. Okay, So my mom and dad and my sister all flew down flew up to Indianapolis to meet my wife. Like, when I told them about her, and my mom had seen quite a few women come past the doorstep, but she had never met one quite like Amie. And I knew that Amie was the one when even my grandmother, and my grandmother was hard on everybody. Even my grandmother liked her. So I knew at that moment that this was the woman that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. So when I proposed to Amie, I didn't do it in a grand way. I did it. We were just I was so excited. Like, I couldn't hold it any longer. So we was in her apartment, and I just got down on one knee in front of her and asked her to marry me. So it was nothing traditional. Everything we did was different. We didn't go about it in any type of grand gestures. We didn't have a big wedding. And we 20 years still here. We've experienced life together in every way, shape, form, or fashion. We grew up together.
Yeah, we grew up together.
Like, we really did.
Yeah,
like,
we really did.
She didn't have any expectations about, oh, you have to make this much money. You got to be this. When she say she saw potential, she saw potential. Like, I was the potential guy. And, to me, she had it all together. She had a good job. She was working at insurance. she
I was
working
at
at
a
insurance company.
call center.
Call center,
I had
insurance
my own,
company.
like I said, I had my own apartment.
Own car.
Yeah.
I had none of that.
And then I had a child too. So
Absolutely.
my family, his family was very supportive of us.
Right.
My family was like, you lost it. Like, you gonna move away and I'm just gonna use it. My grandmother for a nigga? Really? That's what we doing? And so, I just moved one day. One day I called Jason. I got on a flight.
Yeah.
She
was having anxiety attacks at work.
I was having anxiety.
I don't know. She still to this day don't know where.
I think the anxiety came from, like, you know, I was young. I was a young parent. And then my son's father went to jail for 30 years. He's out the picture. His mom was in the picture. My family, I was just crowded with noise, you know, coming from every way. You know, noise, my mom, saying, I thought you were independent. I thought you was, back then you got to be a strong black woman. Now everybody want to be soft, but back then it was just different. Yeah. I never really seen a successful marriage at all. And then the marriages that I did see, they were very toxic. Wasn't a word to put to it back then. It was not something I wanted. So relationships with the opposite sex were not gratified in a good way. From my great grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, my aunts, you didn't see a black loving family. So you got to realize my definition of a marriage was the Cosby Show. That was my favorite show. I still watch it to this day. Mm-hmm. That's the vision I wanted of a marriage. So when I met Jason's family, I'm like, me and my friend was like, they're like the Cosbys. They watch TV together. We didn't eat dinner together. We didn't watch TV together. We didn't really talk unless it was something going wrong in the life. Like, oh, we need to talk because Amy ain't doing
Hold
right.
on now.
Right.
I ain't about to just make us cornballish now.
Y'all not cornbally.
We didn't sit at the dinner table together like
that. Yes, y'all did. Well, when I came to town, y'all did.
We sat at the dinner table maybe for you.
Okay, well.
But we didn't do that on the daily. Now, we did watch TV, movies.
Yeah, they would have movie night.
Like, we're family oriented. Like, all my people like that.
Yeah.
We'll spend a night over my aunt's house, in Stone Mountain when I was younger. Like, we did that. Every weekend, we were spending with each other. So, when she saw us, she's like, it was almost weird. We hugging. She's like,
it's a lot of hugging going on. It was a lot of
this
touching.
Is too much hugging.
It was a lot of touching.
Like,
it used to make me uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable. Like, another hug?
Now she the hug leader.
Now I am. But it took time. Yeah, it took time.
It took time. Like, she has literally embraced and has become one of us. Yeah. In terms of our family. So even when her family comes down, they like, man, y'all are so welcoming. Because we cook. Like, my family, we cook. Every event requires a meal. Yeah. So when you come to my house and my family, like, Thanksgivings are epic at my house because of how we gather. And we can cook. We pretty good at cooking. We put it together now. Yeah. So, but it's like we look forward to those years.
Can I finish my statement? I was talking. You're going on a tangent.
My bad.
I just want to point that out because you say I go on tangent.
Commercial.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. That was a commercial.
Do your thing.
I'm gonna come back.
Do your thing.
So I don't even remember what I was saying, but okay. So the Cosby Show is my vision of a marriage, and and his family came from. He was just very loving too. Like, Jason is so loving. He embraced my son and wanted to be a father. And at that time, I didn't even want to be a mother. Like, I was having a struggle. I was struggling with parenting. Yeah, I was struggling with parenthood, but nobody realized I was really probably depressed. Yeah. Before that, I was going through some depression. I was, I knew I wasn't going to stay in Indianapolis. I knew I had to get out of Indianapolis in order to reinvent myself. Because everybody only knew Attitude Amy. Attitude Amy, Angry Amy, or whatever. But I really wanted something more. And I didn't know how I was going to get it. I didn't know, I didn't know you were going to come in my life and change it.
Absolutely.
I thought, he'll come up a couple of weekends and then it's going to die down because he's going to be in Georgia, Atlanta. And then, the only thing I knew about Atlanta was like Freaknik.
Yeah.
My friends used to go to Freaknik and they used to say what went on at Freaknik. Absolutely. So I'm like, yeah. And then the stripping. Stripping.
All that.
So that's the only thing I knew about Atlanta. So I'm like, he'll come up a couple of days, a couple of weekends and then it'll die down. But when it never died down and we were looking forward every, weekend spending.
If I wasn't there, she was here.
Coming here. I was coming there.
Yeah, she would come there. Yeah. So she spent a lot of time here as well.
Yeah. And we would, we just enjoyed. It was a different feeling.
It was.
For both of us. It was like enjoyment. It wasn't it was just pure fun.
Yeah.
We just had a good time.
It was fun. It was like a mixture of, it was euphoric.
Yeah.
It was euphoric because again, we were on cloud nine a lot. We were in our own world to the point where our friends they looking at us crazy. Like, man, y'all just disappeared off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. It became about me and her. So when, and the crazy part is the friend that I came down with continued to date her friend. So me and him would fly down together. I would go one way. They would go another way. With me and him would meet back at the airport when it was time to go home. That's how we did. So it was a very like just whirlwind romance. I guess that's how you can put it, right?
Yeah. So I remember the day you were like, "Hey, come." We didn't even have an apartment yet. We were planning. I was like, "Well, I'm not." Well, no.
Yeah, that's what she told me. Go ahead.
So Jason wanted me to move to Atlanta, and I was open to it, but I'm like, I ain't moving to nowhere to be your girlfriend, so I could be ass out. Hell no.
Well, hold on. Yeah. We were supposed to get married in June
of 2003.
Right. That's when we were supposed to get married.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up moving the wedding up to January just so she could move here because she didn't feel comfortable living here without being a wife. Say less.
You're not about to put me
that's
out.
where my parents had an issue because they felt like we were rushing it, and I was determined to prove everybody wrong. Same thing with her family.
Yeah.
Both our families was like, because we rushed it. We did. We made it uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
Because, they wanted to see if we were going to last before we actually committed to being married. And we were like, nah, we're going to go ahead and get married and make it last. That's how we looked at it. So we got together. And when we ended up, and we found out she was pregnant. She was pregnant with baby girl, with Amani.
And Jason was so happy, and I was so sad.
Oh my gosh.
I was so sad. I'm like, I'm not even really raising my oldest. How I'm gonna tell everybody I'm pregnant. I was so.
It was. She dealt with it. She dealt with it in a way.
Yeah.
And my people was not excited either.
Yeah.
Because we were so young and we didn't have nothing. So my mom and dad and they looking at me and they like I'm wanting them to be excited with me, but they couldn't. It's like Jay, you too young. Like So I was getting it a little bit on my side, not as bad as she was. I was getting the disappointed looks and the. Because
I show.
Are you sure?
Well, as soon as I get pregnant, I show that I'm pregnant. You can't. And my grandmother kept asking me, and I kept saying no. Even on my wedding day, she said, "You pregnant?" I just looked away. I didn't want to lie in the church. And then she was asking my friend. My friend rode down here, came to our wedding. Her name is Toria, and Toria knew I was pregnant. And Toria was like, "Amy," I just smiled and looked away. And everybody knew I was pregnant. So they thought we were rushing the marriage because of the pregnancy.
No, we were rushing
the marriage because I wasn't moving down here as the pregnant girlfriend.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So I was like, we can, if we get married, then I'll move. So that's why we were rushing the marriage. And I think people got that confused. We had talked about that before I was pregnant.
Right. We had already moved the wedding up before we even found out she was pregnant.
Right.
So that, and I was trying to explain that to people, but it is hard on the outside looking in. You're going to come to your own conclusion.
Right.
And I get it because it does look that way. But that was most definitely not the case. I wanted her here.
Right.
She was having anxiety.
I was having the anxiety because, like I said, going around on me.
It was.
And then like I said, I wasn't really raising Andrew. Andrew was with my aunts at the time and my grandmother. And
shout out to them because they most definitely helped her. One, it helped us to develop.
Right.
Because I knew immediately what I wanted and how I wanted it. There was no way in the world that it was going to keep going. If I was in the picture, there was no way that we were going to keep going in that direction. I'm your husband, but someone else is raising your child. We're not doing that.
Because I was the weekend parent. Right. Basically.
Not really. Because I come up on the weekend, we wouldn't even see Drew.
Yeah. Or not.
And I'm like, where's your son?
Well, because they didn't know you.
Right. So that whole thing was that, and that's how they moved.
They didn't know him. They didn't want him. I get it. I get it now.
Hindsight is 2020.
Hindsight is 2020. If Monty did the same thing I did, I'd be like, don't have that baby around that man. We don't know him.
That would be our exact words.
That would be our exact words. So I get
understand.
it now. But at the time, my grandmother just kind of ran me. I tell you that.
Everything is a give and take now.
Yeah.
So you're taking what I'm giving you. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna, and that's one of the things that we did differently when it came to raising our children. Mm-hmm. We didn't involve a lot of people in keeping them. We kept our kids. Mm-hmm. She didn't like it, but I was determined for us to raise them. Therefore, we can't be questioned about what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
But when you allow other people to help raise your kids, you have to also allow their opinions and their thoughts and everything else that comes with that. Right. And that was the trap she was in. So she loved her grandmother. She loved her aunts.
Yeah.
She did. But there was no way that, one, they should have had Drew that much. Mm-hmm. But because they had him that much, you listen to what we got to say. Yeah. Because if not, then you're going to be taking care of your own child. And she wasn't ready for that at that time.
Yeah. So I think the anxiety was just from just the noise. Yeah. But when I moved away, it canceled the noise. Mm-hmm. It canceled that toxic, because remember, my family know me for what they think I am, right? They couldn't see the growth because they're in it with me.
Absolutely.
So they couldn't see it. And it was a lot of growth during that time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of just becoming a woman, knowing what I wanted, moving the way I wanted. And they couldn't see it. So I had to get away. So the plan was me move, get married, set up, get my furniture down, get everything together. And then Andrew come and live with us.
Right.
And that's what happened. So Andrew didn't come until after Monty was born.
Right.
And then Andrew came to stay with us full time. And that changed the trajectory of my life. Because, like I said, Jason's very loving. I'm very distant. And it wasn't on purpose. It's just, I don't know why I'm like that. And so we were able to form our family at that time. And we were poor because I wasn't working. I was having babies.
Right.
We did. Oh my gosh. We made it though. We made it. Yeah. We made it through everything that came against us.
I truly believe that we had to go through everything we went through to become who we are. And it taught us to want more, but not just want it, but go get it. Mm-hmm. Like, but we couldn't have done that without each other.
Right.
Like, there's no way that she would be who she is or I would be who I am without one another. When they say, the Bible speaks about being equally yoked. And we truly were. We wanted the same things, but we had different skill sets to make it happen. So where she was weak, I was strong. Where I was weak, she was strong. We balanced each other out. And then we sharpened each other's weaknesses to help us become stronger in that manner. So none of that happens when you're focused on the wrong thing. I thought my wife was beautiful. She was exactly the woman I wanted. She was the exact type I wanted. Everything that I wanted, I got. And that's rare. But what you also got to see is it was never about just the looks. I had to get, pretty women a dime a dozen. But somebody that actually has a certain type of intelligence, a sense of humor, the ability to adapt to any situation, the ability to be loved. I seen something on Instagram the other day, right? It was a couple. It was a guy, he was playing a prank on his wife. And he was playing like he didn't have the money to pay the bill. And he had kind of whispered to his wife like, hey, I'm going to need to, borrow a couple of dollars for this meal. I just took care of this, and this. And he was basically trying to get a reaction. And she was like, how much you need? Here, I'm going to cash app you. Is $200 enough? The guy was like, whoa, no. No, I only needed like $20. So, and he was like, it's a prank. That particular skit epitomized our relationship. Because when I didn't have it, or we didn't have it, and she knew I was working my tail off to get it, she would find a way. Money would just show up. We were poor. We at one point the car broke down. We
didn't
were
have
pushing
a car.
2 kids in a stroller,
Walking to the grocery store.
Like we've been homeless, had to sleep in a extended stay hotel. Like we got so much depth to our story that I would hope that it can be a testimony to someone else and be a light to someone else, because there's somebody going through all the stuff we've been through.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but like I said, I think our friendship is what kept us, because at the end of the day, like I can be vulnerable with Jason.
Absolutely.
And I don't have to be. I could just be whatever mood I'm in. I could just be it.
I encourage you.
Yeah, I don't have to change who I am. I don't have to polish who I am. I don't have to be like somebody else. I don't have to have a vision. We don't have a vision for our marriage, because we are the vision. We are the vision. Like I don't have to be like, we didn't have to be like his parents. We didn't have to be like,
somebody else. Right.
We can literally just be. And I think, for people who want to be married, I'm okay if somebody say they don't want to be married. I get it.
Absolutely.
But for people who want to be married, you go through problems, but it's always the other side of it.
It's always a solution to every
right.
problem.
And then when people ask me like, how do y'all stay together so long? We didn't get a divorce. I ain't saying we ain't experienced nothing. We
done been through some things.
We just didn't get a divorce.
Listen now, we grew up with each other.
Yeah.
So we were transitioning right before each other's eyes.
Yeah.
You see so many people that do that, and you know the term "we grew apart." Mm-hmm. That's real.
Yeah.
Like there was a direction my life was going in at one point, and there was a direction her life was going in at one point. And we were literally growing apart, but we never got a divorce. So eventually, the law of adaptation kicked in, and we started to compromise. And we started to work back towards each other.
We started to learn each other.
We started to learn each other. We started to love the person that she had become.
Yeah.
And she started to love the person that I had become.
But it was many a time
we didn't even like each other.
We didn't like each other. But I think the like I said, our friendship, and then the kids, and then how great our kids are. You know, like how great our kids are.
We did.
We did that, and we did it, and we did it our own way.
We did it our own way.
We did it our own way. We did not do it the way people thought we should have done it.
Oh, man.
I think, like I said, when we go out, it can literally feel like just me and Jason in the room.
Yeah,
that's it.
I prefer it that way.
Don't nobody else exist in those moments. But the times that we did have those hard times, we became better people.
Absolutely.
I realized that, and I realized I became a better observer,
right?
Because I really didn't observe I really couldn't even tell.
But that was where
other people were thinking. Like, you know, I just wouldn't observe other people. Jason would observe everybody in the room before he talked. Me, I'm just letting it out.
That's the balance.
Because I'm transparent anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm transparent. It's so weird. I'm distant, but I'm transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ask me a question, I'm gonna give you the honest answer of what I got going on. But when we started, you know, growing up, really being a little bit mature, because, you know, I'm always tat, but I'm tit for tat. Mm-hmm. I'm a tit for tat person. I'm petty. So you do something to me, I'm do it back. I feel like, you know, hey, you yell at me, I yell at you. I think, you know, you should expect me to, because when I yell, I expect you to yell back at me. But so I expect it. So I guess, you know, as we started growing up, I started realizing it's other ways to handle issues. It's other ways to for us to be together and feel heard.
Absolutely.
Feel heard, and then compromise. And the compromise don't always have to be a bad thing. It literally can serve both of us.
Well, I've always come to a place, and I think I started to realize where I went wrong as she pointed things out. So she would point things out, and I'd be like, okay. I might not receive it when she said it, but I always reflect. So when I reflect, I say, you know what, I can see where she's coming from. And I would just change. Like, if there was something that needed to be changed, I would just change. She wasn't used to that. She would still be blaming me for things that I did or that I was doing, but never was noticing that I was actually doing it. So one day I think I had to sit her, you know, like, hey, listen. And I almost had it written down. You asked me to do this, and this. I did this, and this. You never once acknowledged it. Or you said you wanted this. I did it. No acknowledgement. And I'm jogging her memory, and she's like, wow, I do remember that. I do remember. And I think that was the light. Eventually, the light came on and said, you know what? He's trying. Let me meet him where he's at. Let's meet. Let's meet in the middle. And we did. And we have been, ever since we came to that conclusion, that one, we matter first. Mm-hmm. It's us over everybody, including our kids. Yeah. Because our kids are going to eventually go away. They're going to live their own lives. They're going to have their own families. And if we don't put us first, then we're gonna be living with them.
Yep.
We'll be I'll be over here and you'll be over there. No. And so we learned, especially when our kids were old enough and started getting old enough to where they can monitor themselves and they can cook their own meals and things like that. Once Drew got to a certain age, me and her started dating.
Yeah. Never
stop dating your wife, your spouse. We kick it. And we don't, my mom always say, my mom has been married a lot longer than us. She called us and asked us for what restaurant, because we've been to them all. It's to a point now, we just go sit at Carrabba's. Like you got your go-to spot. Carrabba's is our go-to spot. Yeah. But we have been to the some of the most exclusive, expensive restaurants, stayed at the nicest hotels. We've done that. And that's because we started choosing us.
Yeah.
We learned that we come first. If we don't invest in us, we won't last.
Yeah, because marriage is work.
It's work.
It's work, and it's a it continually changes.
Oh, yeah.
The dynamics continually changes, and so for better or worse, that part of that
It's real.
It's real.
It's real
because it gets worse.
It gets worse,
and then it gets better. It's like peaks and valleys.
That's right.
And because we don't, I would say we're spiritual, but we're not what is it? Like
religious?
Maybe religious. I wouldn't say that, but like organized. We're not in an organized religion, where
we most definitely,
but
we're God. We get up and pray every day.
We get up and pray
together. Like that's one of the things that we started to see change the direction as well. And
right.
and we were good before we even started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But we added that element to our marriage, and that's when I started to feel so much closer.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's like, when they say you become one, when we started praying together, that's when I felt like we really became one.
Yeah. So before we go to work in the morning, we, just pray over our kids, pray over us, pray over our house, pray over our family,
our business, everything we got going on.
Everything that we have going on, and it does that does make us closer, and we are really just living right now. Like we doing life for real.
We doing life
for real. I can say I have a lot of fun. And sometimes it's not that we're talking. It's just his presence. We can go the whole day. We go the whole day and not say a couple of words to each other.
Her presence is real.
And
like I just want to be in her presence.
Yeah.
Like I come home, she comes upstairs, and my body just relaxes because she is my peace. I'm not saying that, to be cliche. I'm saying that for real.
Yeah.
Like that girl is my peace when she walk in my door. And it's the same for my kids. Mm-hmm. When my kids are all under one roof, man, I just feel like complete. But when they leave, I'm still not missing nothing. I still feel just as complete with me and her, or with them, or with all of us together.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of marriages, I think, go wrong when the kids leave and they all graduate and they all living their lives. And you looking at the person that you married and you wondering, do I even like you?
Mm-hmm.
Because they stopped spending time with each other. It became all about the kids, the family, and all the things that they had going on, to where, like she just said earlier, the noise. When all the noise stopped,
mm-hmm.
you looking at that person and you like, man, you boring or you corny. You smell. Like you start coming up with reasons to dislike this person. And it's like, because you didn't spend time with them and you didn't get to know them through their involvement and their evolution as who they became. So that's the special thing.
And then you forever changing, because I'm not the same person you married at 22, at 25, at 30, 35, and now we're in our 40s, and we're still forever changing, because we're trying to forever grow. We're trying to forever get back to, or not even get back to, but we're forever trying to reach pinnacles.
Right.
Yeah. Leveling up. And so because we're leveling up, and because we're doing so much, and we do a lot of stuff together.
We do everything.
Yeah, we do a lot. Yeah, we do everything together. I think, for what I can say is, I would be forever grateful for you coming into my life, because I wouldn't have saw anything different if you didn't come. If Jason never came into my life, I wouldn't have never saw a strong black marriage, which is his parents, who, been doing life together for many years. Mm-hmm. I think 40, right? I don't know, 30.
I'm not going to put that out.
I don't know, but it's a long...
Mom and Dad. I don't know how long you've been married.
I don't know, but it's been a long time. And I wouldn't have never seen, like, just people who genuinely love one another. And when I say that, that means y'all can have an argument. Yelling argument. I have a yelling argument, I'm done. I'm never talking to you again. They have a yelling argument, they asking that night, what we doing?
Yeah. What's
like how to resolve conflict and still love one another. You know, I would have never saw that. And then I would have never felt conditional love because Jason loves me unconditional and he knows all my flaws. Every flaw about me, he knows it and he still loves me. That right there, and it brings tears to my eyes because nobody, I wish other people can feel the love that I feel. And I feel it daily. How lucky am I to be that person and so undeserving of it? I'm so undeserving of the way he loves me. I do not get it right. I do not cook all the time. I am not the cleanest person. Matter of fact, I reject cleaning because like I felt like my grandmother and everybody was like, clean up, clean up, clean up. And I'm like, the house is clean, but we all feel horrible in the inside. You get what I'm saying? Like, I guess, you know,
that girl crazy.
That's how I feel, you know. But I mean, I'm not perfect. I don't cater to him the way I see other women cater to their husbands. I say what I want. Sometimes it ain't the right thing to say, and he still loves me in a way that, like I said, he showed me God. He, you know, when I think of God, I think of my husband because with all my flaws, he still is my rider. He gonna ride with me, and you know the mistakes I've made throughout our marriage, you know, and to still love me and want more for me and support me in the way that he does. I couldn't ask for nobody better.
But that goes back to reflect upon how my dad loved my mom. And the same exact situation. Here I am, not his biological child, but he never looked. You would never know it. Mm-hmm. I mean that I love that man from the bottom of my heart, and I would do anything for him, and he knows that because he didn't have to do what he did. So that love and that reflect. I always say that as children, the first experience we have with God is through our parents. So once they pass that on to me, I pass that on to everybody else in my life because I love unconditionally. I that's just who I am. And she loves me the same way. See, one thing about me, this is where I become human. I like reciprocation. If you love me, I'm going to love you. And I'm going to try to outlove you every single step of the way. But if you don't treat me, then I'm going to do the same to you. And I'm going to do it I'm going to do it a lot harder and a lot worse every single step of the way. Because I like to be, I'm in competition with you. I'm competitive. So at the end of the day, oh, you love me, girl? Oh, well, watch how I love you. Like, I live to love her. I live for that. You know, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm human. We all are. But there's no denying that the person this lady next to me is who I forever want to spend the rest of my life with. And I don't care if what happens or how it happens. I will never abandon her. I will never mistreat her. I will continue to love her, date her, dote over her. I want to live. I want to do life with her. I'm looking forward to where I can just do nothing but kick it with her every day, all day. Now I tell her in a heartbeat. Now don't get me wrong. I do need space. We all do. Mm-hmm. We have to have an opportunity to miss one another. But that space only makes me desire her that much more. So this is us in a nutshell. There's a lot more story to talk about, but in terms of who we are, how we got here, and I hope you guys sense the undeniable love that we have for one another. And this is the Colemans in a nutshell. This is who we are.
This is who we are.